in this, any inputs in this intellectual weightage that this panel is, but I will try my best. So from the entire discussion, what I noticed is that, and in any financial fraud that comes up, whether it be a Satyam or an Enron, it's always a question of shifting the liability. Whether the liability is of the bankers, whether the liability is of the accountants, or whether the liability is of the legal system, and where is the flaw. What I see is there is a huge lack of integration amongst systems. For instance, in the case study that we've been given, now the way that this transaction would have culled out would be that first there would have been a legal due diligence, where the lawyers would see, okay, the title deeds are good, the labor law compliances are in order, etc. Then there'll be an accounting due diligence where the finance or the big four will see the credit worthiness of the company. And they have their individual check boxes which they see and fill in and say, okay, this transaction is good to go. Where the problem lies is, and as has been pointed out earlier, that neither the legal nor the accounting team know exactly what to look for, because we don't have a definition of financial fraud. What they look for is, in their individual framework, if all the check boxes are filled in or not. And given the lack of integration, nothing comes out of it. Eventually, if there is a financial fraud, either we will point out at the legal loopholes, or we will point out at the loopholes in the accounting system, the laxes of the accountants. And eventually, it will all be a blame game and proceedings, whether it be recovery proceedings, disciplinary proceedings of the chartered accountants, whether we approach IBC. So it will be a remedial action. And once in a while, a case such as Enron or Satyam will come up, which will just wake us up and say, okay, we need to do something. And there'll be these minute governance changes or overhauling the Companies Act. These things happen again and again, but a clear lack in the system is the lack of integration. And then we always seek law to correct it. What we fail to understand is that the more we try to regulate things with law, it will actually deter our ease of doing business. So we don't want that. If a new law is introduced, we will question it, challenge it, because it prohibits us from our commercial right of doing business. But so there is this lack of balance where eventually the blame game starts of shifting the liability, and we are not. So if we need to see that some are business problems and some are legal problems, and we need to find a solution which integrates both and not trying to pigeonhole a problem once in a while. So it's not about, if something happens, it's not about remedy, it's about the lessons learned and how we can integrate the two systems together.
That's a good point.